What is going on, gunfighters? Welcome to Gunfighter Life. Saddle up for another episode. Today's going to be a fun one, I think, because it's guns that I would like to get in the future. So that's a pretty fun topic to talk about. You see, I haven't been buying a lot of new guns. In fact, the one new gun that I've gotten recently, I sold another gun to get it. So basically, I sold a gun and got a gun. Since trying to do the podcast full time, money has not exactly been flowing in like the salmon of Capistrano. Straight up with you guys, if you listen to the state of the podcast address, I'm making about $500 a month doing the podcast, which is not, median household income, not even close. So I'm hoping that you guys, many of you out there, will step up and become a patron. Added a $1 tier. A $1 tier. Now I'm encouraging you to give more if you want to give more, but added a $1 tier. Also doing some pretty cool insider content for Patreon. Just did a video podcast, like on video, a video format podcast for Patreon only, comparing popular different handgun platforms, like the 1911 single action only, and the Glock striker fired versus a 320 striker fire system, the internals, philosophy of use, double single action, the Beretta versus a SIG 226 family, all those in one big kind of conglomerate, and comparing those side by side, literally on video. If that's something you think is worth $1, and that's just one of the that's just one post on Patreon. There's a lot of new content on Patreon, and I've been trying to do more and more of it. So consider signing up for $1. The Patreon link should be on there. Just think about it while you're listening to this podcast. But whether a bunch of new patrons join in the next few months, or I go hopefully listen to what God wants me to do and go take a contract, do some more private contracting work, or do something in a related field and then keep doing the podcast on the side, whatever the case may be, sooner or later I'll probably buy some new guns again. And as I've gotten older, I've kind of gotten, usually, unless there's some weird exception, usually have a practice of the more expensive something is, the more I wait before I buy it to make sure that I really want it. Like the Scar 17 that I own, I wanted that thing for like a decade. And when I was the commander of a tactical team where my life and other people's lives may depend on it, and I was able to write a policy so we could carry pretty much whatever gun would pass the stringent qualifications, I got a Scar 17. I wanted that thing for a long time. I didn't just go out and buy one because I don't play video games, because I saw one in a video game or whatever. So I wanted one of those for like 10 years. If it's like a pocket knife, because I want a different pocket, want to try it out for even a couple of days or a week or whatever, then I'll just buy it. I'm not going to wait the 10 years. But that's kind of a practice. The more it costs, the more I should probably make sure that I really want to spend the money on it. Unless it's something you need, like a transmission for your truck or something, then obviously you got to drop the coin. But these are some guns that I've wanted, and you could probably deduce by their prices how long I've wanted them. I'm going to start with the one that I want the least, but that might be one of the first ones that I get. And that is the SIG 365. Now, not because it's a bad gun. I've certainly had my experience with the 365. I don't own one, but they're very, very common in the EDC concealed carry world, which is why I'll probably get one. What I might do is get back into doing some instruction, some hands-on training. One of the talents God's blessed me with, to be a good instructor, a good teacher. So that might be one of the things that I get back into. Now, you'll know I'm a big fan of nice guns. I am currently carrying a SIG Legion 226 single action only as my carry gun. I'm a big fan of the STI. But it's not uncommon if I go to a training class as either a student or an instructor to shoot a Glock. A factory, out-of-the-box option, Glock 17. Because I don't want people to see me shoot and think, oh, he shoots really good because he has an STI, or because he's got a SIG Legion. And I'm not going to lie, I think they're a better gun for most things. They're a more accurate gun, a faster gun. However, I know that the bulk of instructors and people that are into handguns and carry and all that stuff will generally carry a Glock. So I keep a factory Glock 17, and I'll often run that. just so that takes away one of those things like, oh, it's the gun. But I'm not going to lie, the gun makes a difference, a few percentage points. But on that note, I think that 365 platform is quickly becoming as popular or more popular than the Glocks for your average concealed carrier. And I don't own one. Now, I think carrying a handgun is already a compromise, as a fighting weapon. Long guns are better. Shotguns and or carbines, rifles, they're better. Carrying a handgun is a compromise. Carrying a subcompact handgun is a compromise of a compromise. I will generally carry a full-size fighting handgun, which is one of the reasons I don't really care about and don't own a 365. But I'd likely get one for instruction, for teaching, and I probably carry it from time to time and be familiar with it so that I could teach students, and also to let students use it and try it out as an instruction tool, as a teaching tool, and maybe sometimes I would carry it if I didn't feel like carrying a full-size fighting handgun. But it's most of the time I carry a full-size fighting handgun. But the SIG 365, I'd probably get it. I know that I like a flat trigger. I'd probably put a flat trigger in it. But the 365 is the first one on the list. And if I do get back into instruction, probably be a handgun that I get, again, because it's becoming so ubiquitous. And I would probably shoot it for the instruction value of it. The next one I've wanted for a long time. This will excite a certain subset of the community. I really want to try out the scout rifle concept. The two big ones that stand out to me are the Steyr Scout and the Ruger Gunsight Scout Rifle. They both have advantages and disadvantages. The trigger on the Steyr is really good. The Ruger is commonly found in stainless steel and has a controlled round feed, which I really like. The Steyr Scout, despite being quite old, has some kind of space age options. It's kind of a space age looking gun. The Ruger has more akin of a feel to like a fine wood and metal gun. I like both those things. So really either one, but I would like to try out a scout rifle. I would like to try it out as intended, scouting out backcountry. Especially my wife and I, we have yet to go to Alaska. We're hoping to go there soon by God's grace and check that out if we want to live there. But I think by far our favorite states, number one is Idaho, especially in northern Idaho, up near the Canadian border, the Montana border. We really like the area up there in that chimney. It's really remote, rugged country. It's got fairly mild winters for the latitude. And it's got a lot of wild country. So using a scout rifle in that kind of country, where there's, wolves and grizzly bear and mountain lion and mule deer and white-tailed deer and elk and moose and all manner of megafauna, I'd like to run a scout rifle in that. So maybe one day I'll get a scout rifle. That's on the list, and it's been on the list for a long time. But a Steyr or a Ruger scout rifle, definitely on the list of guns that I would like. And I would like to run it mostly for the philosophy. Hopefully I would like it and like the concept, but at least I would be able to run it and use it, hopefully at least for a season hunting, and kind of see, is this a rifle of a bygone era? Is it a romantic notion that doesn't really hold water, or is it a really, really good concept that still holds water? I would like to try that out for myself. One reason I would like to try out the scout rifle, and one reason I've wanted it for a long time. The other option of that would be to turn my Kimber Hunter in 308 into a scout rifle, which I think would be fairly easy to do, as it weighs 5 pounds and something ounces, and it's got a 22-inch barrel. I would likely cut that down to 18 or 19 inches. I think 19 inches might have been the Jeff Cooper spec, so I cut it down to 19 inches, save some weight there. Get a lightweight rail that mounted a little bit forward. That shouldn't be that hard with a competent gunsmith. I'd probably chop a little bit off the stock, and I'd mount decent, usable iron sights. And I think that would be a really good lightweight scout rifle. Probably lighter, ironically, than the two scout rifle options I aforementioned. So I might go that route and modify that Kimber Hunter in 308. My issue with that would be if I went to a training class with it, because I know from experience it's a fine hunting rifle, but not to knock the rifle, it's called the Hunter. But if you shoot large volumes, the point of impact does shift on it. Perhaps I could remedy that with some pillar bedding. Perhaps not. It's just a really thin barrel. So maybe that wouldn't be a good option. It would be a good option for me to try it for hunting, but if I wanted again to take it to a training class and run it hard and let that barrel get really hot, I know that the point of impact shifts. I know that from experience. It was one of the rifles I had as a professional big game hunter and guide. But for hunting, really doesn't make a difference. If you didn't hit him with the second or third shot, a wounded animal, the fact that the point of aim shifts on your 6th or 7th or 8th round really is a moot point to me. For hunting, but maybe not so much for a scout rifle, but that is another option. The next one I've really wanted for a long time, and I've really wanted a 44 Magnum revolver for a long time, and there are many good 44 Magnums. The Ruger Red Hawk, the Ruger Super Red Hawk, those are legendary. They're kind of big and heavy. It's one of the reasons I don't have one. They're kind of big to carry all the time, unless I'm dedicated handgun hunting. And I love to handgun hunt. I've been blessed to take more big game with a handgun than I can honestly remember. It'd be hard for me to put an accurate number on it. It's a lot. But I usually do that with my carry gun, because that's the gun that I have on me. I don't want to be good with my carry gun, and I want the challenge, right? If I'm hunting with a handgun, it's not because it's a good choice. I'm hunting with a handgun because I like the challenge. And I like to cover a lot of ground, and it's what I have on me when the opportunity arises. A lot of those guns are pretty heavy, which brings me to my number one choice, and rather unique, is the Smith & Wesson 329. It is a 44 Magnum, fairly large gun, but very unique in that it's very lightweight because it's a scandium frame. How lightweight? How about 26.3 ounces? Yeah, 26.3 ounces. To give you an idea, a 1911, I think the factory 1911 standard government 1911 weighs 40-something ounces. This weighs 26.3 ounces. Now, this would not be a gun that I would want to shoot competition with. This would not be a gun that I would want to shoot a lot of full power 44 Magnum hand loads in. I have a scandium frame 357. That is one of my often carried pocket guns. That thing with 357 Magnums is a beast to shoot. That thing weighs 11-point-something ounces. This thing, 26 ounces, has the benefit of giving a full grip and being a full-size gun, but it's very light. And I have to imagine in 44 Magnum, very punishing. However, kind of what am I getting it for? If I'm getting a big bore 44 Magnum for backcountry defense, which is the number one reason I would want a 44 mag, the fact that it's lightweight for me, backpacking lots of miles, covering lots of ground, would outweigh the unpleasantness of running 44 Magnum full power loads through it. But I would like to have a 44 Magnum handgun. I really would. And I like the scandium frame. I like my scandium framed 357. It's one of my most carried guns when I'm not carrying a full-size fighting handgun. I like that little gun. Again, not because it's pleasant to shoot, because it's not, but because of what it offers and the power it offers for the size. The power-to-weight ratio on that is amazing, and the power-to-weight ratio on that 329 is astounding. And in second place is the Smith & Wesson Model 69. I believe it's actually a smaller frame than the 329. However, it's not scandium. It's not that rare earth element. And it's a smaller frame, so it's a 5-shot 44 mag as opposed to a 6-shot in the 329. But it's still going to weigh quite a bit more. Let me look up the specs here. Yeah, it weighs, and this is still lightweight for most 44 Magnums, it weighs 37.4 ounces. But not bad for a 44 Magnum. And if you were going shootability, if I actually thought I would shoot it quite a bit, it might be a better choice. It's a really good option. Now, if we compare that to one of the standards, the Ruger Red Hawk, a fantastic 44 Magnum revolver, comparable in size, a 4.2-inch barrel, is going to be 6 shots compared to the 5 that we talked about, or the original one, the 329, which is a 6-shot. But this one weighs in at 47 ounces. First one we talked about was 26 ounces. You can see why I want the first one if I'm covering lots of ground on foot and I want it as a backcountry defensive option. And if I want to shoot it, there is always the option to run it with 44 specials. But a 44 Magnum revolver has been on my list for a long, long time. Another one, if I decide to settle out in the vast expanses of the West, a gun I've wanted for a long time. I'm a big fan of the Kimber hunting rifles, and I might wait a while because the Kimber hunting rifles that I have are just fine. But if I wanted something, a new rifle, a new hunting rifle for this kind of environment, I would probably get a Kimber Mountain Ascent in 280 Ackley improved. I like Kimber rifles. I don't like everything that Kimber does. They make a lot of flashy, like 1911 style guns and a lot of micro compact guns that aren't the most reliable in my opinion, but they really make a good hunting rifle. They make a scaled down, which is still very strong because of modern metallurgy, stainless steel, controlled round feed rifle. Their Kimber 84 series, just phenomenal. It's like the evolution of the Mauser 98, and in that delineation, the evolution of the Pre-64 Winchester. Just an amazing, amazing gun. A Kimber Mountain Ascent and 280 Ackley improved. The 280 Ackley, because in my opinion, it's probably one of the most well-balanced North American game cartridges if you take large brown bears out of the equation. And here, Idaho-Montana border-ish where I've been, there are grizzly bears, but they're not as big as, coastal Alaskan brown bears. At 280 Ackley improved is just a phenomenal all-around Western cartridge. It would be fantastic. A Kimber Mountain Ascent, 280 Ackley improved, just would be a phenomenal rifle out here. I often kind of do those thought experiments, like in this environment, if my main goal was to put food on the table, what would be, in my opinion, like the optimal choice? And for out here, this Idaho, Montana, western, northwestern kind of hunting, yeah, the Kimber Mountain Ascent and 280 Ackley improved would be a phenomenal, phenomenal rifle. Lightweight, handy, accurate, 280 Ackley improved, phenomenal, well-balanced cartridge, very efficient. It will be a phenomenal choice. Here's another one that's really weird, and this might come to pass one day because they're not really coveted. They're kind of obscure. They never really caught on. And if I get a regular job to support the podcast where I stay in one place for more than a couple of days, if you don't know, my wife and I live as neo-nomads, but I would probably want to get a 223 Winchester Super Short Magnum. That's a cartridge. I did a whole episode on that cartridge, but I think they really messed up when they named it. It is not a 223. It's not even close. It's not even in the ballpark. It is perhaps, if I remember serves me correct, the hottest, fastest 22 caliber factory cartridge. Period, I believe. Factory. There's some Wildcats, but you're talking crazy, crazy fast velocities. You're talking, and I'm just pulled up the Wikipedia page because it was easy. You're talking, they list a load 40 grains at 4,352 feet a second. 4,352 feet a second. That is screaming. They list a 75 grain load at 3,378 feet per second. If I saw one of those at a gun show or at a used gun store somewhere, and again, these don't command a lot of money, and I was set up to reload, I would likely buy one. Just as a varmint cartridge, if I was hand loading with proper judicious bullet selection, a phenomenal deer-sized game round. The best, not as good as a 280 Ackley improved, but a really good round for that. Depending on the twist weight rate of those barrels and things like that, you could really do some cool stuff with a 223 WSSM, especially as a hand loader. And again, if I saw one of those for a good deal, a good Winchester or Browning rifle, which I think are the only two bolt-action rifles that were offered in that cartridge, the 223 WSSM Winchester Super Short Mag, I think that'd be a really cool gun to have. And I've wanted one of those for a long, long time. And I wouldn't get one again unless I was set up to reload again, but really cool. The next one, and this is one that I actually wanted before it existed. When I was looking for like my ultimate carry gun as CCW, when I was looking for the best one, I had kind of a weight limit in mind because I have like STI 2011s. They're just a little bit too big and heavy to carry day to day. And this is from somebody that carries a full-size fighting handgun. I also wanted a single action only, hammerback with a safety. That's my preferred operating system in a 1911 and whatever. Now, Beretta did make one at the time, but it had a steel frame. I shouldn't say metal, steel frame. They've since come out with a model. It's like the 92X Carry. That's single action, ready for an optic. Currently, they came out with a model that checks all the boxes. Not only is it single action only with optics ready, but unlike the performance one that has a steel frame, it has an aluminum frame. It's a phenomenal gun. I think it would be, for me, kind of the best option for a carry gun. Now, the gun I have right now is really, really good, and it's probably as good, but I've done a bunch of stuff to customize it. I carry a 6-hour Legion because it has that aluminum frame. It's got a Barstow precision barrel, so it's crazy accurate. It has a great trigger. It has good ergonomics. But there's some things I like about the Beretta. I like that locking block system. I like it better than the Browning tilt barrel system. I think it's a superior operating system in my opinion. I also like the open top design. I like the less reciprocating mass to shoot faster. And I like the mitigation of certain kinds of malfunctions with that open top design. I don't like the traditional double single for concealed carry in most Berettas, but in single action only Berettas with a thumb safety, yeah, they're an amazing gun. So that's a gun I'm really looking forward to, God willing, having one day. The next one is not so much a particular model, but I am looking forward to kind of going on a gun adventure of the ultimate pocket handgun and seeing if I can dethrone the ones that I've had for well over a decade. The Smith & Wesson J-frames that I often carry in a pocket, and I don't normally carry in a pocket. I normally carry, again, a full-size fighting handgun. But I think there are some new options, so I would like to explore making kind of the ultimate pocket carry gun, because I know a lot of people carry in pockets. Sometimes I carry in a pocket, but kind of that super subcompact. What's the best option for that? Is it the more modern super subcompact semi-autos? Would it be something else in the revolver world? I would like to, go to a range, try some different stuff, run some stuff on the clock, and really dive into trying to make the best, most effective pocket gun. I think that would be a really cool project to do. And I think just finding some of those metrics, how I would determine that, would be really helpful to you guys, the audience. The next one is mostly just for fun. I like black powder. I don't currently own any black powder firearms. I have owned them in the past. I have competed in black powder. I would really like a black powder shotgun, 12 gauge or 20 gauge. I'd really like one, mostly just for fun. I'd probably hunt with it, but just the pure enjoyment of black powder, and especially a black powder shotgun, I'd really like to have one of those, mostly just because I want it. It would be really cool for a really, really crazy long-term grid-down apocalyptic scenario, because I know how to make black powder. And with a shotgun, fairly easy to make projectiles. I could literally walk a riverbank and pick up some decent-sized, buckshot-sized pea gravel and find some plant material to make wads, literally. Especially if it was a flintlock, you kind of have a continuing forever supply of ammo, right? So that would be really cool. It'd also be really cool to do that stuff just for fun, but just a black powder shotgun, I think would just be a lot of fun. I don't often just go out and shoot for fun. I usually have goals. I usually have training goals. I have standards to meet and to maintain. But it just for a super fun gun, how fun would that be? To go hunt geese with a black powder shotgun, that would just be fun. I just like black powder, just one I want for fun. Another thing I would like to get into again, it's been a while since I've done it. One of the things I gave up to live this nomadic lifestyle and to save on rent to try and do the podcast full time, reloading. That had to go, right? But I really love reloading. I started reloading when I was very young, melting lead, doing all that stuff, casting bullets, projectiles. Done that since I was a boy. I miss doing that. Not only for the practical aspects of making custom ammo that you like or making certain calibers cheaper. We talked about 44 mag. You can reload that way cheaper than you can buy it. Or 280 Ackley improved, or whatever the case might be. It has that practical aspect. I can hand tune loads to my pistol or to my rifle. There's a great benefit in that. But I also just really enjoy it. I enjoy hand loading. I find it relaxing. I like concentrating on that so intensely that kind of the cares of the world just melt away. I miss the reloading. So looking forward to that as well. Anyway, just an episode I thought I would share with you guys. Maybe you're in the same boat. Maybe you're thinking about guns that you would want. Not guns you just buy on an impulse, but guns that you've wanted for a while that hopefully one day you'll have. Anyway, that's my list. If you liked this content, if you liked good, clean gun content without a bunch of blasphemy, without me telling you this is the next cool gun you got to get because of marketing, because I have this sponsor and they're pushing this gun, even though it's half garbage. If you like good, honest gun content, please consider becoming a patron. There should be a Patreon link in the show notes. Anyway, with that, the tactical tip of the day. Talking about hunting and being in backcountry and all those kinds of things. Cotton balls and Vaseline. Super cheap, super effective. Especially the Vaseline container itself makes a pretty good waterproof container. You take the cotton balls and the Vaseline, you mix it together. I even did a video on this, a DIY fire kit on Good Shepherd Training YouTube channel. I don't put out a lot of video content, but that's one I thought would be good in video. But cotton balls and Vaseline, mix them together, shove them in a waterproof container, duct tape a lighter and a ferrocerium rod to the outside of it. It is crazy how good and effective cotton balls and Vaseline are for making fire. If you want to go out and bushcraft and make a bow drill just for the challenge of it, that's great. But when I'm cold and freezing on the side of a mountain and I want to fire right now, those are awesome. And they're so cheap and so effective. Cotton balls, Vaseline. Your tactical verse of the day. Men. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and to he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Reminds me of Mark 11:24. That was from Matthew chapter 7. But Mark 11:24 is thus: whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them. Faith. Believing in things before you see them manifested. With that, men, thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.